All right, so check this out. I got a couple of topics I want to touch on. Number one, the Ilia Topuria and the Max Holloway face-off, right? A lot of people sort of take too much into the fact that, oh, well, this guy out-talked this guy or this and that. I think many people sort of really take trash talking into way too much consideration before a fight. And honestly, it doesn't really hold that much weight if you look at it historically. Now, have there been instances where, let's say, a guy talked so much trash that the other guy just could not contain themselves during the fight when the fight had actually happened, away from all the fiasco and all the circus of the pre-fight rituals and the press conferences? Yeah, Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo is one example of that. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Devin Haney and his dad suing Ryan Garcia. On top of that, asking for a rematch while suing him. What is going on with that? Is there a strategic sort of play that's going on here? I'm going to say, yeah, there is. So let's start off with that first, right? Ryan Garcia is being sued by Devin Haney for a whole bunch of assaults, a whole bunch of negligence, and basically bleeding him out to dry while asking him for a rematch. Now, why is this strategic? Think about it. They're going into this fight with Ryan Garcia less of himself because he has to worry about a lawsuit. He has to worry about his income. He has to worry about paying his trainers on top of having to pay his lawyers. So he's putting Ryan Garcia in a very disadvantaged position going into a rematch. And by the way, why should he not, considering that Floyd Mayweather has done similar things to opponents in the past? And there is a reason why many people will argue that he is the GOAT of boxing. Of course, it's subjective because there are other people out there that have done greater things, but the numbers don't lie in terms of pay-per-view numbers and the fact that he's already had 50 fights, all undefeated as a pro, and you can't take that away from him. But rest assured, everything that revolves around that was nothing more than strategic. So imagine Ryan Garcia is going into this fight with all this angst, all this worrisome situation that he has to deal with. I mean, let's just be honest about it, right? It all falls into the favor of Devin Haney. And now Devin Haney is probably working on different things in terms of defensive mechanisms of how he can alleviate the left hook of Ryan Garcia, how he can mount a certain offense that would be problematic for Ryan Garcia. But all in all, really, the main point of that whole entire logic is to bleed him dry before taking him into a rematch. And quite frankly, I think it's brilliant. Now, are there going to be people out there that are going to look at this as sort of a cowardly act? Absolutely. They're not going to look at this as anything noble. But you have to understand something. When it comes to warfare, there is no such thing as noble. Do you think that it was noble for Ryan Garcia to walk in there allegedly with steroids? Because I can't really confirm one way or the other. Now, I know that that is the official statement, but you also have to take into consideration that there's Victor Conte, Vada, and all these other people that are in the mix. And by the way, now they are planning on drug testing him way ahead of time before the rematch. So that is the literal strategic situation that we are witnessing right now. What about Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria? So we saw the face-off. At least I saw parts of it. I literally only saw the highlights of it within the Morning Combat show with Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell. So far, the way that it's looked, right? Max Holloway just seemed very uneasy about the whole thing. In fact, many people would say that Max Holloway has sort of succumbed to the bravado of Ilia Topuria. But the problem that a lot of you people don't understand is none of that matters in the fight. Now, it matters now because it's not October 26th yet, or at least when this video has been shot. But when October 26th comes, rest assured, we're going to find out whether that really matters or not. And I can't really tell you one way or the other. Of course, How about I can? How about the fact that I can give you a prediction for that fight right now? So how am I going to see this fight go? In all honesty, this is an absolute 50-50 fight, just like the Beterbiev and the Bivol fight just 48 hours right now before that fight is about to happen, or actually 24 hours now. It's a Friday right now, October 11th, which that fight is going to be on October 12th. Nonetheless, neither here or there. Here's one thing you got to understand, and here's one thing you have to take into consideration with that fight. Max Holloway has the jab to sort of keep him at bay. He's now developing knockout power. Ilia Topuria has always had knockout power. He's knocked out Volkanovski, whereas where Max Holloway sort of went 5 rounds with him every time that he was in there. But there's a little bit of a factor that goes into that, right? You have to take into consideration that Volk had that Islam fight, and he got his head knocked off with a head kick, right? Now he's going to go jump right back in and defend his title against Ilia Topuria. So maybe it's not strongly indicative of comparing Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway. But rest assured, right now we can say that Ilia Topuria is more of the knockout artist. I did notice that Max Holloway said that Ilia Topuria looked like he was struggling in many of his fights, looked like he was gassing. I don't know if there's some strong reality to that, but I can tell you that Max Holloway has more of an efficient style in terms of how he is going to approach the fight. In other words, the way that he moves, it's not highly explosive, right? He just sticks with a jab and really sticks in the aerobic boxing range of his output. That's all that he does, right? Aerobic boxing range, and then if he has to sprawl, he'll get there. But his main base is boxing, and it takes nothing but aerobic energy output to do that. And quite frankly, you can sustain a lot of energy as opposed to, let's say, somebody who is an explosive fighter like Ilia Topuria or Conor McGregor. So my official prediction for this fight, I'm going to have to go with Ilia Topuria by decision, because we haven't really seen how he performs, right, outside of the first round, second round, or third round, or this and that. But I feel like he is more than capable enough and more than ready to take this fight into the ground. And look, recently, Luke Thomas had a question in his live chat, right? In one of his recent live chats, which was yesterday during a Thursday live chat on October 10th. Somebody asked, hey, listen, is wrestling really putting off a lot of the newer fans? And he said yes. But he also mentioned that the judges have also sort of modified how they outlook certain fights. Now, back in the days, if you had more takedowns than the other guy, it was apparent that you had won that fight, especially in the eyes of the judges. In today's standards, it's not so much. If you damage a guy enough, and even though he takes you down multiple times, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to win. However, I think that with the devastating knockout prowess that Ilia Topuria has, on top of the fact that he knows how to take the fight to the ground anytime when he needs to, this is where I think he's going to be a lot more dangerous than Max, at least in the points aspect of things. I don't see Ilia Topuria knocking out Max, and I don't see Max knocking out Ilia Topuria, so it only leads me to this one particular conclusion, which is what? It's going to be a decision. Max is going to try to jab his face in, and somewhere down the line, Ilia Topuria is going to switch his levels, change it up, go down low, hit the double leg takedown attempts or even single leg attempts, maybe grind him up against the fence and eventually get him down. And it's going to be a rinse and repeat performance over and over again on the part of Ilia Topuria. So in other words, what's going to happen is that he is going to win by points based on that analysis that I just gave you. So I'm going to go with Ilia Topuria with 5-round decision. It's going to make Ilia Topuria look great. It's going to make him look like a much more technical fighter in ways that we've never seen before, because he has to be forced to put in that position. And Max, well, I think that it's going to save his credibility and his brand as a guy that is very hard to finish, very hard to knock out, and he's going to go back doing those fight nights that he did with Arnold Allen and those headlined co-main events or maybe main event pay-per-views with the likes of Justin Gaethje's of the world and whatever matchups he can come up with at 145 or 155. Well, that is all that I have for you right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next content, inshallah.